Morning, my friends. Just getting set up here for Bhakti Bites. My dog. Welcome in. All right. Let me get the live share real quick, and we will get started shortly. I feel like I always send it to the same people. Let's see. Mix it up a little bit this morning. Good morning, guys. Do me a favor and share the live if you're coming in. We are getting settled in here for a mudra and a meditation. It's our last one of the week, sitting with this mudra. If you're not familiar with mudras, definitely hang out. They're really simple tools that are useful for balancing the energy body, the physical body, bringing us back into all layers of self, back into balance. And we're going to combine our mudra with a meditation. It'll be a brief meditation. So if you're new to meditation or you feel like you don't meditate right, definitely hang out, because these are the whole point of these sessions is bite-sized sessions of self-care, of accessible self-care, right? Kikat? I also just found out from the vet that our kitty cat, our stray kitty who got spayed the other day, has to stay inside for 2 whole weeks. It's going to be really interesting. She's either going to fall in love with it and never want to leave, or she's going to sneak out, which I'm feeling that the latter is what's going to happen. Good morning, Nikki. Nikki, I wanted to touch base with you too about your joining over at Move with Change. I know I sent you a code to get into the Sangha, and I wanted to make sure you got all the way in so you could join us for group coaching and the classes and whatnot that I'll be offering in Move with Change for members. So if you want to, maybe I'll send you a message in the app. For those of you who are new here, hello. My name is Reverend Deborah. I am a movement facilitator, movement in breath, body, and being, and I am the owner of Move with Change, an online platform where I offer coaching, classes, and a variety of services, a variety of private services, and there'll be a couple workshops that are going to be going on next year. I know the chakra workshop is one that I'm definitely... Good morning, Corey. The chakra workshop is one that I'm definitely going to put on next year. I just realized last night, though, that I have to redo the presentation for it because it had previous branding in it. So I've got to do, hey, Jay, good morning, thank you. So I've got to redo that, the presentation for that. But that will be... The chakra workshop will be happening in March. And then... I'm still considering doing a death and dying workshop, possibly later in the year, or an aftercare, an end of life aftercare workshop. But I also realized last night that I really need to put on an energy hygiene class. Happy Saturday! An energy hygiene class. There has been so much coming into my field of awareness. So many people coming into my field of awareness that are having some sort of experience with energy. Either they just didn't realize it before and are suddenly really, really aware of it, or they are doing energy work, whether unintentionally or intentionally, or they're being bombarded by other people's energy or other energy entities. And I'd really just like to do like a simple hygiene class of like, this is how we protect our energy field. This is how we clear our energy field. This is how we move energy through us so that it doesn't get stuck and stagnant and cause physical ailments. A lot of times the physical stuff that we're dealing with has to do with energy that's stuck. And yeah, stuck energy can create an actual diagnosable thing happening in your body. So if you're like, oh, but this is actually, the doctor's diagnosed it as this, and this is what it is, and I've seen the x-rays. Yeah, of course, my friend. And that can be caused by stuck energy. It's not always and not only caused by that, but when we learn to balance our energy bodies, when we learn the simple tools that we can use to balance one of the major systems in our body, it would be like if you had the tools to balance your hormones really easy, right? If you had the tools to balance your nervous system, if you could work on your thyroid with mudras, right? You can. You can, by the way. And yeah, so why wouldn't you use those tools? And we don't have a pill for your energy field. You can't go to the doctor and get your sacral chakra treated with a prescription. Maybe someday. Maybe the prescription will someday be, mindfulness tools. Who knows? Good morning, Gigi. Welcome in, everybody. I was facing my challenger this morning, and so I got up a little bit late. My challenger was very loud. My challenger in the morning, it doesn't want to get out of bed. It is very adamant that there's no reason to get out of bed, and it doesn't matter whether or not we get out of bed, and nothing we have to do is important enough to get out of bed. It's a really heavy energy, and it's a really loud voice. But it's not loud in like a mean way. It's loud in this comforting way. It's this oddly comforting, not sadness, not even, and there's a kind of peace, yes, but those of you who've danced with depression and things like that, you probably know what I'm talking about. There is a peace in that voice and in that surrender to, yeah, you're right, there's nothing that's important enough to get us out of bed. You're right. And that's what I've been sitting with in the mornings. I wake up in the mornings and I sit with that feeling, that heavy, weighted feeling that's almost peaceful, that's almost surrender, but it's not the same kind of surrender, is it? A little bit feeling safe, but it's not quite, I know I'm safe. It's safer if you stay here and close your eyes. User, do I use under eye cream? No, I don't use under eye cream. I don't use makeup. I use laughter and playfulness and mudras and yoga and really good food. For those of you who've seen my cooking stuff, really good food. Yeah. That's how I make these bags under my eyes. You see these laugh lines that I have worked for many, many years on? Nearly 40 years. You see this beautiful work I've done on my laugh lines for like almost 40 years? What do you guys think? You like my crow's feet? Thank you, Ja. Isn't that the thing, right? Laughter is the best medicine. Sticking a pasty balm on top of the symptoms of our dis-ease and discomfort and dysregulation is not healing, is not I've gotten used to waking up in the morning and looking at my face and smiling at my face and being proud that this is my face. In fact, we'll start here with our meditation in a moment. I did not know my dad. I never met my father until my son was 3 years old. So it was 5 years ago. I'm nearly 40. I met my dad, for the first time about 5 years ago. I'd never seen a picture of him. I'd heard stories about him briefly, but mostly it was just constant denial that he even existed or that I wasn't. Yeah, anyway. The first thing when I contacted him, the first thing I asked him for was a picture. Because I had looked at my face my entire life and seen my mother all over my face. But I knew there was this other part of me, this other person that was woven into my very being, the fibers of my very being, but I'd never seen him. And that first evening, after I'd gotten the photo of him and I saw his face for the first time, I was heading to bed and I caught my face in the mirror and I stopped and I looked and I watched as my father emerged through what I always saw as my mother. And I saw him in my face for the first time. And ever since then, I make a nightly habit of looking into the mirror and sending love, not just to myself, but to the people who created me in this life, the people who added their little 2 cents of ingredients. So, no, I don't wear makeup. No. I spent too many years hiding who I am, wondering who I am, to hide that or to, and yeah, makeup's fun. I'm not putting it down at all. I'm just saying that for me, it's really important and really empowering to be able to look at my face every day and see who I have been, who has brought me to this place, the lessons I've learned, the things that I've carried, the smiles and the sorrows that I have experienced, and all of it. All of it. All of it. And yet there is still a question deep, deep, deep underneath that we all have of who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Am I my name? Am I this body? Am I my memories? Am I just a product of my parents? Am I who I show up for work as? Am I that person who nobody ever sees? That part of me that nobody ever sees. So, today's practice is going to be an inner exploration with that question. Oh, thank you, Ember. I don't have any in today, but I actually touched them beside the bed and I almost put them in. So I love those ones too. I really love them. I'm a very big fan of most of the pieces that I have. I pick them out very particularly. So thank you for noticing. Okay, my friends, let's get into our mudra. This is the last time this week we're going to be using our mudra. If this is your first time here, or if you are new, if you missed the mudra earlier, hello, my name is Reverend Deborah. I am a movement facilitator, movement in breath, body, and being. And these are our Bhakti Bites classes. Bhakti means devotion. So devotion to what? Devotion to self-care. Because oftentimes it is really, really easy for us to put aside the self-care piece and get through our day and go, crap, I forgot me. So I invite you to join me for these meditations and practices. Why Reverend? that's a whole exploration of why I went into, why I got ordained, why I spent years studying different religions and perspectives and spirituality and all of that journey. That's a nice long story. But I've been a reverend for 9 years, and I'm a non-denominational reverend. So, and I have this awesome toolbox that I am here to share with you guys. Wait, legendary. Okay, you have a question. Go ahead. Thank you for the follow, Johnny. So, my friends, our mudra for the week is called the Dharmachakra Mudra. The Dharmachakra Mudra represents the balance between the inner and outer worlds, represents our realization that there is a pathway out of the wheel of karma, these cycles over and over and over again that we find ourselves stuck in oftentimes as humans, right? How do we get out of the wheel of samsara? How do we get out of this constant cycle of recreating karma and just being so stuck in the matrix and the illusion and the whatnot? There is a way out, right? Why are you so positive and you believe in mantras? I don't know. It's a special gift. It's a special gift. Okay, guys. So how, Lily, how do we get out? Through mindfulness practices. In fact, it is Thich Nhat Hanh who said that the next coming of the enlightened one is unlikely to be a single person like the Buddha or Christ, but instead a community, a sangha, a community of people practicing mindfulness together. So that is also what we're cultivating here and cultivating over at my website on Move with Change. But enough of that, guys. Let's mudra. Let's meditate. So if you have the opportunity to join me by closing your eyes, feel free to do so. Or if you're safe to close your eyes, please do so. Here is our mudra for the week. Okay. It's called the Dharmachakra Mudra and is done using both hands. Both hands connect your pointer and your thumb together. Extend the other 3 fingers. This is the Gyan Mudra, right? Most of us are familiar with this really basic mudra. Take this mudra, place your left hand, that circle on your left hand, right at your heart, and then lift it off your chest just ever so slightly. Then take your right hand with your palm facing out, touch the tip of that connection to the tip of your middle finger. This is called the Dharmachakra Mudra. So ideally you have your left palm facing in, your right palm facing out, representing the inner and outer worlds. Connect that right hand to the tip of your middle finger. This is our Dharmachakra Mudra. During meditation, hold this mudra. If your arms get tired or it becomes too heavy to hold the mudra, which occasionally happens, feel free to either rest it in your lap, holding the mudra in that position. But if it becomes too intense, please honor where you are in the moment. This is not about creating a battle. This is not about pushing yourself. This is not about hurting yourself. This is not about challenging yourself. This is about being present with yourself and with your process. So if this becomes too intense, please just open your palms and either place them face up if you'd like to receive, or palms down for grounding. Honestly, if this becomes far too intense for you, I would highly suggest putting your palms down on your thighs for a brief break. Come back to it if you feel you can. Otherwise, just enjoy the meditation. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab our Dharmachakra Mudra. Find yourself a comfortable place to sit or lay down. That's fine as well. This meditation can be done walking, sitting, standing, not driving, because when you're driving, I need you to be paying attention to the road. Okay, my friends? All right. Once you are settled in, go ahead and gently close your eyes, and we will begin our practice with 3 deep breaths. First, inhale through the nose, pulling the breath through the lungs and into the belly. And sigh it out. Inhale again, lifting the heart and elongating the spine. And let it go. Inhale once more, expanding the rib cage in all directions, front, sides, and back. And release. Go ahead and seal the lips. Continue breathing in and out through the nose. And I invite you to follow the breath. Follow the inhale all the way to the top and follow the exhale all the way to the bottom, allowing the breath to anchor you into the present moment. If your mind is busy this morning, that's okay. Simply return your attention to the breath. A gentle, loving redirection. Following the breath. Allowing your inhale to fill you with the intention simply to follow your breath, to be present with the breath. And allowing the exhale to soften the muscles in your body, shoulder blades melting down your back, shoulders softening. Nothing other than your breath, inhaling and exhaling. As you follow the breath, I invite you to notice the space, the stillness, the pause at the top of the breath just before you inhale, and at the bottom of the breath, just before you exhale, and at the bottom of the breath just before you inhale again. Notice that brief moment of stillness. Inhale all the way to the top. Hear that pause. And exhale all the way to the bottom. And notice that pause. If thoughts arise in your mind, I invite you to notice the pause between your thoughts as well. As you continue with the breath, inhaling and exhaling, thoughts may pop up, asking for your attention. Instead of giving them your attention and attaching a story and following them down their rabbit hole, I invite you to notice the silence in between the thoughts. When a thought arises, wait for it to fall away. Notice the silence again. If your thoughts are rapid fire back to back to back to back to back, there is still a pause in between. Same with your breath. Notice the stillness between the action, between the doing. You can continue with this part of the practice. If you would like to go deeper, I invite you in those moments of stillness. I invite you to simply, gently ask yourself, who am I? Who am I in between the breaths? Who am I in between the thoughts? Who am I observing the breath, observing the thoughts, Who am I asking the question? Again, we ask the question gently, with love and compassion, without the expectation of an answer. Simply a gentle inquiry into the stillness. Who am I between breaths? Who am I between thoughts? Who am I? Who is observing? I am not my thoughts. I am not my breath. I am not my ego. Who am I? Keep breathing, inhaling slowly, exhaling gently. I encourage you to spend all the time you need here with this simple inquiry. When you feel complete, I invite you to bring your hands together or simply lay one over the other over your heart in gratitude for today's practice. In gratitude for the stillness, the resting point between action, the quiet between even the busiest of thoughts, even the quickest of breath. There is always a pause in between. And offer a little gratitude for even being able to inquire of those in-between spaces. Having the awareness to notice them and the patience to sit with them. Offer yourself a little bit of gratitude for taking the time for self-care today. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for joining me. When you're ready to come out of meditation, please do so slowly. You can offer yourself some wiggles, some stretches. Ooh, only opening your eyes when you're really ready to come back. No, not ready. No. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Only because my coffee's getting cold. Good morning, Stacy. Hey. Morning, guys. Thank you. Bring a little light. Bring a little light on during the darkest days of the year, right? These couple of days, the world stands still. And in those moments when the world stands still, during the darkest nights of the year, is exactly the opportunity to listen into the stillness, to inquire into the stillness. And there's little, yes, it's fun, right? It's fun exploration to ask yourself, who am I? And then get really attached to any of the answers that you find there, right? To have this inquiry within your head and have a whole conversation about it. And there's value in that. And feel free to do that. Feel free to journal about it. Feel free to get excited about the responses or sensations or whatever that you experience during meditation. And I invite you to make this inquiry without attachment. Again, without the attachment to an answer, without the attachment to any answers that you get, without attaching story to any experience that you have during meditation. Meditation even itself. Some people have asked me before, can you get addicted to meditation? And yes, yes, in the sense that we can create an attachment to something that we use as an avoidance tool. And if you're using meditation or mindfulness practices as that avoidance tool, then we are still causing suffering through that attachment. Our attachment to being enlightened beings is its own karma generating suffering. It's like that Zen thing. If you're talking about Zen, then you're not practicing Zen, right? Well, shit. Thanks, Mando. Let me catch up on comments here. Danny, Bev. My name's not Bev. Is that like a term, I don't know, of endearment? Like, hey, boo. Hey, Bev. So I do meditations. Bhakti Bites are Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Here's the thing, coming in the new year, the schedule is going to change. So if you're curious about when any of my classes are, there is a pinned video in the top of my content and my profile that will always have a schedule there. Okay. So if you're looking for any of the classes, the schedule is there, and you guys can find replays on YouTube at Move with Change on YouTube. Emilio, am I into astral projection and lucid dreaming too? Yes. Queen, yep, same thing. How often do I go live? Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for Bhakti Bites. Friday mornings we do tiny yoga. Those are my open lives, and then I have Friday night astrology live that is subscriber only live. Remember that when you guys subscribe, you get a free month over to Move with Change. Move with Change, I offer weekly group coaching to all members and discounts on private services, as well as free access to all the workshops that I put on, and those workshops are sold externally. So there's a benefit to joining over there at Move with Change. You want to access this toolbox in these awesome group coaching sessions. Definitely come join over there. And you get access to the astrology lives on Friday nights. You're very welcome, Scotty. Joe, any guided meditations I recommend? Not particularly, honestly, because meditation is a personal practice. Meditation is such a personal practice, and I encourage you to explore all different styles of meditation and different meditation teachers or meditation guides, because, these meditations may resonate with you, and that's great. But I could tell you, oh, go try so-and-so's guided meditation, and it doesn't resonate with you at all. I personally don't listen to guided meditations, partially because I find other people's voices distracting. And then here I am doing meditation, guiding you guys. But when I do my personal meditations, I do just tones, music, something soothing, singing bowls, that kind of thing over somebody's voice. But that's just, again, because I'm very particular about the voice that I'm listening to. Used mindfulness disassociation the last year you were married. Yep. Yeah, Olivia, it can totally happen. Deb. Oh, okay, Danny. Are my lives all the same time? Scotty, I go live for right now. This week, this is Saturday. So next week, I will be live Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. But in January, that schedule is going to change. I might take the first week of January off just to revamp and do some business back of house stuff. But keep an eye out for the video. There is always a video of my schedule at the top of my content. Yeah. Jacob, when did I start my journey? When I was 7, I started having reoccurring past life regression dreams. I was raised a Catholic, and there wasn't an explanation in the church for what I was experiencing. And luckily, I had a really insightful priest who I shared a lot of my experiences with, and he helped me understand kind of the things that were happening. And when it came time to get my first communion, I left the church instead. At that point, I wanted to be a nun, but I didn't want to be a Catholic nun. It just didn't. I was like, this isn't where it's at for me. And I was really, really, really blessed because Catholicism can be really closed door, really stringent. And I had a priest I said, I want to go out there and find God. I want to see God within me and in every other thing that's, if I sit here in the church and listen to you interpret the book, I'm not going to really, really understand it. And he said, go. And so I started studying other religions. I started working toward my ordination in my late teens, early 20s, and then put it down for a while. Ebb and flow, right? Ebb and flow of our practice. Pick it up and put it down, pick it up and put it down, pick it up and put it down. And I've been a reverend for 9 years. And in there, I've picked it up and put it down. I've put aside my practices. I've lost my faith and I've found it again. I've lost sight of God, and then I found him right here in my heart. Many, 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 many years, I experienced I experienced not being able to talk about what I was going through. It was a really, really, really interesting experience. And I think it was, again, kind of just my dharma. There was something that I needed to hold on to or learn from that or understand from that many years of not being able to talk about energy. As I've said before, for those of you who've been here for a while, you've heard me talk about my mother. My mother passed to me our family lineage of energy work. Yes, I took an Usui lineage Reiki training course later on in life, but I grew up working with energy. My mom would instead of kissing our boo-boos, she would teach us how to put our hands on ourselves and heal ourselves and shift energy and move the energy in the room. And she knew what was happening to me when I'd come home from school and I was like, Mom, this girl got heat stroke. I had to walk her to the office. But before she got, I knew she had heat stroke beforehand. I nearly passed out. I was experiencing other people's emotional states and physical states within my own body. So she helped me learn to set up those boundaries and learn to control and channel that energy. And yeah. But 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago, I walked away from one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. And part of the reason I was in that experience was because I had put down my practices, my mindfulness practices, my daily practices, my self-care practices. And I had allowed my self-talk to devolve to such a place that I allowed others to bring violence into my life and pain into my life. And yeah. So when I left, I recommitted myself to my practice. And for the last 2 years, I have been doing some really deep healing work because I realized that I couldn't trust myself to take care of myself. I had allowed other people to completely ravage my temple, my inner temple. And I realized that I had completely lost faith in myself. And that voice I talk about in the mornings that doesn't want to get up, that voice is lingering from those past events. And so every morning I have a practice of making friends with it. Every single morning. Because there are some things that don't heal overnight. And trust is not regained and rebuilt overnight. Trust is built in the smallest of moments that we show up for ourselves. Trust is built in the littlest ways that we take care of our needs. I imagine many of you experience some version of losing trust with yourself. Thank you, Nikki. I encourage you to come home. I encourage you to foster a relationship with yourself that is built on trust, that is built on respect, that is built on love and compassion and honesty. Right? These are the things we talk about wanting from our external relationships, but we completely forget to give those things to ourselves. Brene Brown even says, she did a study on trust, on how trust is built. And she said, I thought when I went into this study that I would find it, trust is built in the big moments, showing up for the big things, or the big events. And she goes, no. It was in the tiniest little moments that we show up for each other. It was in the tiniest little moments that we're there for each other. Forgiveness, Missy, you're talking about forgiveness. Forgiveness was difficult when I thought myself was to blame, when I thought that it was me that was broken and wrong. Then I needed to forgive myself. I felt guilt, so I needed to forgive myself. It was only when I shifted that, and realized that there was no need to forgive myself. Because all of the tools that we use are there to protect ourselves. Your mind and your body, your emotions, they're all there trying to just keep you safe. And if the world was scary and combative and violent, sometimes we think we need to become that to get through that. And sometimes we need to become that to get through that. The person you were, the person you needed to be to carry that armor, to stand tall in battle, to wield that heavy sword, to fight through life, did their job. But if you are done waging war on life and with yourself, then we have to learn to say goodbye to that part. We have to learn to thank that part for its service, not see it as the enemy. When you create an enemy of yourself, you start a battle within that becomes a war that you will wage your entire life. Good. Learn to let go of who we were. Yeah. I struggled a long time with forgiveness because I thought I was the bad guy. And we all are both the bad guy, the villain, and the savior, the superhero and the damsel in distress, right? We're all these energies within us are part of what make us who we are. And we need each of them. All those layers of ego that we built so that we could face the world. A world that is oftentimes scary and uncertain and painful. And if we're not given the tools to navigate those difficult times, to bend when the wind blows, to meet challenges with curiosity and willingness, then we struggle and we suffer. But when we take that and allow it to teach us something, allow it to be a stepping stone to higher parts of self, higher ways of living, then we embark on a journey. Thank you, Nikki. Yeah, replays are on YouTube at Move With Change. Sorry, guys, I'm missing comments here. Color Me page, I will go live next week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Replays are on YouTube at Move With Change. Next year, in January, the schedule will change. I will probably be doing just 2 days a week. I'm not exactly sure what those days are going to be yet. I'm trying to sort out that schedule, so just keep an eye out. Remember that there is always a schedule pinned at the top of my content in my profile, okay? Missy, I feel like I didn't show up for myself, but showed up for others over myself. So many of us do. Because again, we live in this reality that we're taught that is where our value is. Our value isn't what we do for other people. Our value is what we produce outside of ourselves. Our value is how much money we make. Our value is how much material possessions. And our value is how much of service we are to other people. Our value is even how much we sacrifice ourselves or hurt ourselves. There is this whole culture around hurting yourself for work or for other people and being proud of doing so. And the travesty that we have been taught to perpetuate that violence against ourselves. We don't even need our abusers or our attackers anymore. They reside within our heads and in our hearts. That person that hurt you, that thing that hurt you, that event that hurt you. Why let it hurt you over and over and over again? And we say, well, I don't let it hurt me. It just does. Or it tortures me. It keeps coming up in my mind. I've been there. The obsessive thoughts about the trauma, the uncontrollable reminders. Physical, emotional, mental reminders, causing nightmares, causing all sorts of reactions, triggers. But you are not your triggers. You are not your body. You are not your mind. You are not your ego. You are not the name your parents gave you. You are not the job that you do. You are not the person that everybody else thinks you are. Oftentimes, we're not even the people we think we are. Can you rewire your brain? Yes. Absolutely. Danny, I love that. I love that. You woke up and decided you no longer wanted to feel miserable. It changes a lot when we find our locus of control, when we find our center of self and realize that everything, all of our experience is within ourselves. right? You guys have heard me say, when I'm holding your hand, my experience of your hand is not your hand. It is my inner experience of the sensation of your hand in my hand. Everything happens within. And yet we seek our answers outside of ourselves. We seek our comfort outside of ourselves. We seek understanding outside of ourselves. We seek love and compassion and forgiveness, happiness outside of ourselves. One of the most profound things I ever heard anybody say was so many years ago when somebody said, when you attach your happiness to something outside of yourself, you give away your power. And now something that is finite controls your inner experience. Something outside of you that you have no control over controls your inner experience. There's a lesson to learn in that. If you want to go ahead and keep giving away and attaching your happiness or your peace to like, only if, once this happens, only when this happens, will I be able to be happy. Only if this happens, will I be able to meditate. Only if this happens, only if I have the right yoga pants, will I be able to go to yoga class. Only if I have the right mat, will I be able to do so. Only if I... All of these put your locus of control outside of yourself. And then you are a victim or a puppet of that external influence. When we do this, we are easily manipulated by life and by external influences, external triggers, external stimuli. Easily moves us. But I don't want to be that. I don't want to be a ping pong ball being tossed around all life. Triggered, no control, triggered. They made me do it. It made me do it. It's that person's fault. It's that thing. It's that. When you point one finger, there are always three pointing back at you. Both the same direction. So I talk about that in terms of manifestation, Joseph. Hey, Joseph, hello. People are motivated to either get more happiness or have less suffering, both the same direction. So a lot of times when we talk about manifestation or even just kind of clearing up our life from the things that we don't want in our life, right? Sometimes it can be hard to look at the thing and say, I want abundance, right? I want just overwhelming abundance in my life. But I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know I've never had that. I'm looking for something that I've never actually experienced in my life. So how is it that I'm going to find that thing? Through discerning what's not for me, right? And so if you know what the happiness is that you're looking for and you know what it feels like and you can focus on that piece, great. But if you don't know what it feels like, the way to get there is by turning away from what's not that, right? Because it's both the same direction. And sometimes it's easier for us to say, that's not for me, that's not for me, that's not for me, than to say, that is for me, especially when we're so far away from that. It's important to remember that both, right? Do that. A lot more simple than we think, yet so much more difficult to. The simplest practices are the most difficult. Practice nonviolence. Let's try that one. Practice nonviolence. Practice truthfulness, right? Is it as simple as just not throwing fisticuffs with people? No, not at all. In fact, the act of the practice of nonviolence has many, many, many facets and is not quite as simple in practice as it is in speech. And that is where the play comes in. That is where the exploration comes in. That is where the discovery and the curiosity and the willingness to learn and grow comes in. Because we look at that simple statement, we go, okay, and we try it out. And if it doesn't work, we go, fuck it, it's not working. It's not simple. The words are simple. Why isn't the practice simple? There's another expectation causing you suffering. Paige, it's very easy for me to see others' truths, much harder to create my own. I would invite you to explore the idea that oftentimes what we see in other people is only a reflection of ourselves. Because what we see in other people is colored by the lenses that we have developed over these years. And because we're stuck in subjective experience, I can never actually really even understand what somebody else's truth really is. So in fact, my perception of their truth says a lot more about me. And when you begin to look at that, you find your truth within. Your truth is already there. Your truth is already what you see. And if your truth is that you can see your truth, other people's truth more than your own, then you're just playing hide and seek with yourself. And that's okay. I've done that. I still do that. We play hide and seek with ourselves because it's a game of discovery. It's a practice of coming home to ourselves, building relationships with ourselves. Joseph. Yeah, and Danny, our shadows are our truth too, right? And they're not even a bad truth. It's just the other side of our light. It's just the other side of the coin. We have our inner duality, and the practice is finding that oneness within ourselves, within our inner duality. Joseph, I'm trying to catch up on what you said. Oh, interesting. Violence is the intense creative desire, strongest expression of physical energy, a desire that gets channeled with intense fear of non-existence or death. Yeah, I like the way you say that. So we channel that energy then, right? Using that energy to enact violence on ourselves or others is not a productive, it's a contracting energy. It's a closing off. It's a stopping. So how do we redirect that energy? Because we don't want to deny the energies that are flowing through us. We don't want to deny the emotions that are coming up, because when we do that, we deny them and tell them they don't exist, tell them they're not worthy of being seen or heard, and we compartmentalize them, and then they end up stuck in our bodies or our heads, obsessing, aching. Learning to redirect our energy, learning to channel our energy in a way that allows us to process those intense reactions, those intense waves, ebbs and flows of experience without having to weaponize them. Without having to weaponize them. And I think that's it, Scotty. You can't be afraid to feel the negative feelings and triggers, yes. And I think many of us have gotten the experience that those negative, dark, whatever emotions, intense emotions, are not okay, not valid, not worth being looked at. And so again, we push them away and we hide them. New day. Most shadows are little children that just needed to be nurtured. It's a good place to start. Same thing with your emotions. That's my favorite analogy. I tell you, if you shift your perspective and see your shadow self, see your ego self, see your emotional self as younger versions, as children, as teenagers, as, little kids, as, you've seen that 50-year-old woman in the coffee shop who's throwing a literal tantrum in public, and you're like, oh my God, what are you, 5? Because that emotion, that stuck emotion she's still stuck in a loop on that emotion is about 5. Yeah. We spend so much time avoiding these feelings, it runs our life, right? I like the analogy of imagining myself as a captain on a pirate ship. And when I ignore my crew, mutiny ensues. If I let my crew members drive the ship, they don't know how to navigate. They don't know how to read the stars. They don't know how to read the wind. They're going to fucking run us into the rocks. They're going to bring us to the wrong shore. They're going to capsize the whole boat. They've done it many, many times over. I've seen the crew of my pirate ship completely destroy the fucking or drive us directly into the storm because they're like, yeah, that looks like fun, because they're immature, often infantile, often ignorant of the greater wisdoms, the greater schemes in life. And that is why we ask ourselves, who am I? For me, when I first started that practice, it was, where's my captain? Where's my captain? A pirate's life for me. Color your page. You grew up around a lot of addiction, and same now, but you're not. Just personal choices. There are many things that create addiction, which creates suffering. It's a form of attachment, and it's a form of avoidance. Avoidance is attachment too. Arr, matey. I think if every one of us ask ourselves, what am I addicted to? You could probably come up with an answer. Because it's human nature to seek pleasure, to seek comfort. And when we don't find it in healthy, wholesome ways, we find it any way we can. It's just like a 2-year-old who needs attention, who wants attention, and doesn't get it from positive reinforcement. So they go in and get it from negative reinforcement. It is not an intentional manipulation of the adult. It is a simple seeking of comfort and acknowledgement and the other human needs that we have. Connection, seeking comfort. Humanity is addicted to avoidance to keep us safe. I think there's a lot of people who experience a form of apathy right now, I know that the weight of some of the things that are occurring in the world right now is really heavy on many of our hearts. And I spent years, again, I was telling you guys before about my early experiences as a Catholic, and I spent years shedding tears trying to imagine how Christ could walk this earth and carry all of this in his heart, how he could still be the light in all of this darkness. And then I realized that he was able to see the divinity. He knew the light and the divinity that lives in each of us. Because when you look at the world through that lens of divinity existing in everything, weaving through everything, then it's not so dark. We can see costumes, masks, borders and walls and armor and barrier that we use to hide our light, to protect our light. There's a difference between using the darkness to protect your light, using those layers of protectiveness to protect your light, to hide your light. And there's a difference between that and believing that you are the darkness, believing that there is no light, and stuffing your light so far down that you can't find it anymore. Doesn't mean that you'll never find it again. It's always there. It always resides within you. But if you knew that God lived within you, existed within you, how would you treat yourself? How would you treat your body? How would you speak to yourself? If you knew that you were speaking to God with that self-talk, would you still say the same things? Pow, wow, wow. So believing in God isn't just another form of something warm and fuzzy to help us feel better. It is for everybody. Whatever it is for you is what it is for you. Again, I share my experience, my understandings, what I've been through in my life, and the tools that I have gathered to help me heal and help me move past some of the darkest, most difficult, most painful times in my life. And I share those things with you because they've been helpful to me, because I wouldn't be sitting here in this body right now if I didn't have these tools. And if they resonate with you, try them out. If they don't, that's okay. There's something else out there for you. For me, moving past judgment and frustration and anger with other people, blame, one of the most powerful tools for getting past that is looking at every single person and saying, I know God lives within you. I know a spark of divinity lives within you. If I believe in a higher power, that higher power runs through absolutely everything in existence. And if it's in me, then it's in you. And so my question I often ask myself is, how would I speak to my God? How would I speak to my higher power if I knew that this person outside of me, who was being really mad right now and being really nasty and whatever, being very human, if I could see that spark of divinity in them and see them as divine having a human experience, there's a lot more compassion. There's a lot more love. There's a lot more understanding. Because I know that I am also divine having a human experience. And that this magnificent meat bag was constructed to house my divinity. That my temple protects and carries around that little spark. And when I focus there, when I operate from there, when I found the one who tends to that fire, life is very different. It is really difficult to stay in there. And this is why I practice mindfulness tools. This is why I use mindfulness in the moment. So one of my biggest things is simple practices, right? We talked about trust. The way we rebuild trust with ourselves is through the simplest, tiniest ways that we show up for ourselves. And the acute use of mindfulness tools has had a profound impact on my relationship with myself and my ability to be present in the moment and my ability to be aware of where my triggers are trying to pull me to. Because when I have that awareness, then I can choose to follow that trigger or to try something else. And sometimes I don't know what that something else is going to be. Sometimes anger arises and I'm like, man, it's really hard not to follow that trigger right now. Really, really hard not to follow that trigger right now. Okay, what else are you going to do? I don't fucking know. Hold on. We'll just breathe then. Okay, let's start with breath. Let's just start with breath. You guys know, can you talk about some of those ways to build those? Yes. Let me get my face out of the sunlight here because it's bright. It's very bright. Nope, still in the sunlight. That is what it is. It's also why it's a practice. You have to keep practicing, redirecting, trying. It is not something that happens overnight. You're not going to suddenly trust yourself to make good decisions in your life or to protect yourself in dangerous situations. You're not going to trust yourself to not be triggered or victimized by your internal and external experiences right away, right? Thank you, Nikki. But in those moments, in the day-to-day tiny moments, when you have that awareness, use what you have. You don't need a yoga mat. You don't need mudras or mantras, right? Use the simplest things that you have. Your senses, right? You can do things like close your eyes and listen. Just listen to every sound. The sounds close to you, the sounds really, really close to you, the sounds a little bit further away from you, the sounds outside of the room that you're in, the sounds even further away. Reach your hearing as far away as you can. What do you hear? It's a mindfulness practice. It brings you back to the present moment. It tunes you into what's happening around you. And if you do that without judgment and without story, right? We're not listening to hear something. We're not listening to go down a rabbit hole about what we hear. We're listening to open our awareness to the present moment. Another one is to use your vision to look at different colors all around the room, right? So if you find yourself in a stressful moment, you find yourself having anxiety, you find yourself getting upset, whatever it is that's rising within you, and you want to cultivate that patience to be like, whoo, I feel this rising within me. Hold on a minute. What am I going to do about it? Then use these practices. Stop. Look around the room and go, red, 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 orange, 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 yellow, yellow, green, green, right? Go through all. Bring yourself into the present moment. The breath. The breath is my favorite. If you find yourself off somewhere else and you want to return to right here, right now, what's really going on right here, right now, breathe. Follow the breath. Inhale all the way to the top. Exhale all the way to the bottom. And you can start with just your breath. You can also add, Gigi, one of my favorite tools is breathing with my fingers, is finger breathing. I don't know, I need to come up with a name for it. Hand breathing, finger breathing. So you begin down here where your thumb meets your wrist. Inhale up the outside of your thumb. And exhale down the inside. Inhale up the outside of your pointer finger. Exhale down the inside. Keep going. Inhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale to the top of your pinky. And then exhale all the way down to your elbow. What happens when we do that? What happens when we use mindfulness tools to bring us into the moment, especially when we're having a big trigger? When the conscious mind and the body pull us out of the present moment, it creates a kind of surface tension. And that surface tension holds in our emotions, holds in our triggers, holds in those somatic memory of things, holds in our experience, our energy. When we bring our attention back to the present moment, we create inner stillness. We reduce that tension, that chaos that was created by trying to pull ourselves out of the present moment, like quantum leaping, trying to go to the past and go to the future. When we do that, we create dissonance, we create dissociation, we create unawareness. When we come back to the present moment, we change our quality of time. We change our experience. And we create the space. We release enough surface tension that those triggers can then be released. You've ever had that feeling of becoming really, really angry all of a sudden? And that hot fire rises up within you and demands that you speak it or behave it, right? Or express it, right? Demands that you express it. When we are not in the present moment, that white hot comes up and out. And there's very little we can do to stop that train of events. When we bring ourselves in the present moment, when we practice mindfulness, that hot rage comes up within us, and then we can go, oh. For me, it comes from my belly and rises up through my chakras, through my center, right? Through my central energy channel. And oftentimes I feel it when it starts to hit here. My heart starts racing, my throat starts to constrict, right? You get these physical reactions to that energy coming up through us. My favorite short circuit, my favorite way to short circuit that is to put my hand on the feeling and to just bring myself to the present moment. Take some breaths, close my eyes, just listen. What's interesting is that when you pause and do that and let go enough to listen in, let go of the attachment to the outcome, let go of the attachment to the expression of it, to the justification. I find when I'm feeling justified, it usually means I'm triggered. When we do this, when we pause, instead of trying to push it away and say, no, don't behave like that, I can't do that, or go, and then go storm off with our anger still boiling inside of us, right? That's how it gets stuck. But when we simply pause to be with it, there is an immediate relief. It could be just really small, depending on how big and hot that anger is. But there is immediate relief. Can you imagine if you lived in a world, in a life, where your emotions were validated, where you felt seen and heard, that you trusted your environment, you trusted that you were able to be authentic in the moment, that you would be taken care of, that you would be protected, even without that white hot rage throwing fists. The ability to do that exists within ourselves. In my experience, looking for that outside of myself for a long time. It wasn't until I turned within and found that person that was willing to hear every grievance I had, that was willing to witness every emotion that came up, was willing to hold loving, compassionate space for every experience that rolled through my life. It was there I found that person that I could trust to tell my secrets to take care of me. It's been a mantra that a mantra that I have written on many, many mirrors in the last year and a half. I trust myself to take the absolute best care of me. If I can't do that, nobody else really will be able to either. Hey, Todd. Powwow, you've only had moments. That's good that you've had moments. Then you know it exists, you know you can find it, right? We do that. We build the trust. We cultivate that relationship one tiny moment at a time. Every single time. And if you miss a time, if that white hot rage comes up and you say some nasty shit that you did not mean, if that self-talk comes up and you shame yourself and you guilt yourself over something, choice that you made, I encourage you to love yourself through that too. We're just divinity learning how to be material. We're the infinite trying to compartmentalize ourselves into the finite. It's going to be messy. Can you imagine being all pervasive, all infinite, omnipotent, whatever, and then trying to separate yourself and put yourself in these little compartmentalized little meat bags and let them all run around in reality just so you can experience coming home to yourself, just so you can experience forgiveness, just so you can experience love and pain and suffering and compassion and joy and fear and because if you're all knowing, all pervasive, and you omnipotent, what is there to learn? What is there to discover? You know and see everything. So if you're going to experience coming home to yourself, you have to leave home first. Sometimes we have to make an enemy of ourselves to learn how to love ourselves. Ooh, Danny, yes, very nice. I honor my inner seasons and deeply trust my inner rhythm. I think I trust mantras. I trust mantras are really big right now for me. Todd, I'm glad. Hope you're doing okay today, my friend. New day, I apologize to myself. Yes. And again, I implore you to explore forgiveness, yes, and also recognize that forgiveness is not necessary when we are not judging ourselves in the first place. So if we can find what's underneath the judgment and forgiveness battle, it's love and compassion. Can you imagine if you knew, again, if you were to meet somebody tomorrow and you were to find out that that person was God itself, manifest in a meat bag, trying to figure out how to be a human and totally fucking it up, totally stumbling around, totally being awkward and weird and making mistakes left and right, what would you do? If you knew that was God, if you knew that was divinity, if you knew that was higher power and source, what would you do? Would you laugh at them? Would you judge them? Would you be like, ha, fuck you, man, you're on your own. This shit sucks, doesn't it? Maybe you might. For me, my heart, at the thought, my heart swells with love and compassion for this absolutely adorable God, divinity, coming in and being a fucking messy human, it makes me want to hug you so bad. It makes me want to just reach out and be like, oh, boo, come here. Yes, it sucks. It's really fucking hard, isn't it? Holy shit. Why did you decide to do this? I don't know. Okay, well, we're here. We might as well have love and compassion for ourselves, for our experience, and for each other. Because we're all stuck in the same illusion. Offer yourself the compassion you offer others. At the very least, yes. I work on myself, then I fall back into hating myself for decisions and mistakes that you have changed. Well, my friend, to you, pow wow wow, I say be nice to my friend. Be kind. I love you. Your mistakes are beautiful. They color your life to be uniquely your own. They are a menagerie, like a collage of all that it means to be you. And that's absolutely fucking gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's no need to apologize for a magnificent piece of artwork, no matter how messy it looks, no matter how many tiny little mistakes you see when you look at that canvas. You are absolutely where you need to be, who you need to be, exactly when you are needed. Mistakes, blemishes, scars, fuck-ups, and all. Ryan, I'm fine trying to find your comment up here. May this solstice aid us all to be reborn in this season of our best version of ourselves. Absolutely. Absolutely. And a great way to cultivate that, I'm still trying to avoid the sun. Again, right, is to realize that you are already perfect. I'm so glad you're here, Karen. Thought or question? It's very intriguing to you. Oh, I'm catching the first part. I usually answer your next question. Well, we are all reflections for each other. We're all... What? Oh, shit! Hey, guys! You know what this is? This is my son's third tooth. Ha! Congratulations! He was still in bed and he came out going, and I was like, oh no, did you have a nightmare? What's going on? What's wrong? And he's like, that's so cool. Let me see. Awesome. Give me 5. Good job, buddy.
Thanks.
You want some breakfast?
Yes, can I maybe play Minecraft for the last bits?
Not right now. Not right now. Maybe later, okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, my friends. My son is awake. We're going to go have our morning. I love you all so much. We really are just reflections for each other, of each other. So I hope that you take those words the feeling behind those words. I love you so much. And you store that away for a rainy day. Take it, put it in your pocket, pull it out when you need it. Last but not least, if you guys want to work with me directly, you can find me at movewithchange.com. You can also send me a message here. If you'd like to join our community over there and get free and get weekly group coaching and access to my workshops when I put them on, which is going to be every month or two, I'm going to be putting on a different workshop, and it'll be completely free to members over there. You also get discounts on my private services. If you subscribe here on TikTok, you get a free month over there at Move with Change. Plus, you get access to my Friday night astrology lives. And if you guys want replays of any of this, these replays are on YouTube at Move with Change. I love you. You are so fucking beautiful. Go enjoy your Saturday.